name is Kacie Aguiar. I am 34 years old and I reside and work in Modesto, California as an attorney. I own my own law practice and I specialize in personal injury law, which entails helping injured people in car accidents, slip and fall accidents, and dog bite incidents. But primarily 95% of my caseload is auto accidents and the other 5% is the remaining 2.
Wow. So how did you decide those areas, or did you just kind of fall into them?
In high school, when I was 16, almost 17, I started working as a filing clerk at a law office. I was a junior in high school. It was right in between my junior and senior summer I started, so that was in 2003. Prior to that, I worked at a grocery store for 2 years. I started working at 15 years old, almost full time. And it wasn't a plan to stay in the legal field, but the people I was working for really supported me with my schedule throughout high school and throughout undergrad. And my original goal was to be a CPA, an accountant, because I love numbers and always wanted to be an accountant. But by the time I got done with my undergrad, which was in 2009, I had already been there for about 6 years. And I really, they asked me to try law school and I told them I was going to take a year off and try to figure it out. And then they said that they really suggested I shouldn't and to just try it out. So I did. And law school was 4 years long, which was part-time at night. So I was able to work in the morning from 8 to 5. And then I went to law school for 4 years at night. In Stockton from 6:30 to 9:50, 3 to 4 days a week for 4 years. So I passed my first year, and that's kind of the make or break of law school. If you can't pass the first year, it's just likely not for you, or it's law school is nothing compared to undergrad. It's just it's a different language, it's a different way of studying, it's just a whole different ball game. But I ended up passing my first year, and then I graduated in 2013. I took the bar in 2014 and I passed. So here I am.
Whoa, that
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's totally doable if you put your mind to it. And in reality, you really just have to know that a lot of your friends are still going to be in the same spot when you're done. There was a ton of stuff I missed out on, family events, friends events, vacations, numerous things I missed out on. However, I became an attorney at 27. I've been an attorney for almost 6 years now, and now I'm able to do a lot of those things I missed out on, enjoy them, and it's true. A lot of my friends are in the same positions they were before I started law school. So some people, are afraid of missing out on life, and in reality, being in my late 20s and early 30s and being able to do and go wherever I want because I'm you know in my career and successful, it just is so much more enjoyable than as if I was in my early 20s.
I bet. And I mean, all the hard work paid off, clearly.
It did.
That
And
was
now
pretty good.
I got engaged my 3rd year in law school, and then I decided to wait till after law school to get married, and now I have 2 babies. One's 5 and one's 3.
Well, throughout the whole process, have you had any role models or mentors or anyone or anything that particularly inspired you?
Yes, the attorney I started working for in high school, he was a man. His name is John, and he hired me. Well, originally I was hired as a file clerk by a different attorney, and then John started working in that firm and was told he could have whatever assistant he wanted, to help him on his personal injury. And he had asked me, and I remember asking him, like, why did you choose me out of everybody in the office? Like, I was the least experienced, I was the youngest, I had the most difficult schedule with school, And he just said that he saw that I was a hard worker. I was followed through on everything, you know, and he knew that if he sat down and taught me that I would be able to handle the job. So that's how I was chosen. So I would consider I still work for him, kind of. I still manage his office and train all of his girls. He's 2-3 blocks down the road. I see him almost every other day. Talk to him daily. So he's definitely my biggest mentor.
That is so cool. You guys still get to work together.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
those qualities you mentioned are all great ones that anyone needs.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you tell a girl who wants to start her own company, but she feels too young or too inexperienced?
Um, that's a good one. You know, number one, you're never too young. Um, and number two, you can't be afraid to make mistakes. That's the only way everybody learns in life is not only your own mistakes but also by looking at other people's mistakes. Um, so, you know, especially as a woman, I think that now where we're at in 2020, it's a whole different ballgame. There's women in almost every position in every field, and that's how it should be. When I first started going to court after I passed the bar, it was probably like 10% women attorneys, and the rest were males.
What?
Now, you know, I'm seeing a lot more female attorneys, probably closer to like a 35% ratio. And I'm not quite sure why that is. However, I was trying to think back into law school. I mean, there was quite a few girls in law school in my class, but going back to that, there's about 40-45 people that started in my class, and then I want to say only maybe 10 to 12 of us graduated, and then maybe
What?
only a handful of us passed the bar. So um, but you can do other things with our degrees. But you know, as a young girl, just my advice is to never be afraid, learn from your mistakes, do research, and you know, follow your dream.
That's the best piece of advice to remember always. And
Yeah.
what do you think is the most important first step in starting a company?
Uh, I wrote some notes down actually on that. Definitely research. You want to you have, well, number one, you have to love it. Number two, you need to research it. Do interviews, you know, with owners or, you know, entrepreneurs or whoever's in that field, because sometimes I feel just in general, you know, we think we want to do something, or, you know, high school kids, for example, you know, like they want to be a vet or they want to be a nurse, and then they see blood, and then that's not for them. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's probably the best example I could give is, you know, we want to do all these things, but until you actually put your, you know, get your feet wet, do some research and see if that's really what you want to do, then that would be my like absolute first piece of advice is make sure it's something you want to do. And then again, another, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know, I don't regret having a bachelor's in accounting, even though I'm an attorney. And that's another thing. You can go to law school with any undergrad degree. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be criminal justice. It doesn't have, it could be a, you know, political science. You do have to generally take an LSAT to get into law school, but you can go with any degree. So, you know, I still sometimes dream about being a CPA, but I'm very happy where I'm at. So, and you know, I'm glad I followed my heart with my accounting degree because I enjoyed my undergrad. But that's another piece of advice for entrepreneurs that may want to look in the law field, is you don't have to have a criminal justice degree to go to law school.
That's really good to know. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what would you say are the top 3 skills a girl needs to be a successful entrepreneur?
Um, Dedication. Definitely dedication. Communication is key. I don't think you're ever going to be able to run a successful business if you don't know how to communicate. And again, research. In order to be successful, you have to learn from everybody else's mistakes, and just move forward, learn from them, teach other people the mistakes you've learned from. And you have to be dedicated. In order to make a successful business run, you have to be 100% involved. And honestly, I love what you're doing. I love that your age group is so young, because that's a perfect age group to remind women that you need to start thinking about this and do this before you turn 21, before you start having family, before you start having kids. You know, I'm I'm just glad I held off on those things. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but it makes your road to success easier when you get your career started before and let everything else fall into place after.
That all makes total sense, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And for girls who want to be an attorney or lawyer, could you give a little behind the scenes of what you found most helpful throughout your career and getting started?
Um, I think what was helpful in my specific instance, and it doesn't apply for everybody, but um, it helped that I was in the office and was familiar with the terminology for I've worked for 11 years before I passed the bar. So during law school, I was in the field for 7 years before I started law school.
Wow.
So that was helpful. I think it was also helpful because I realized that I really like personal injury law. Um, Once I graduated, I did a little bit of family law. I did a little bit of criminal. And I always question myself, like, do I not like criminal and family law because I haven't been doing it for, 11 years before I, became an attorney? And maybe I'm just not familiar and I'm not confident. But in reality, I really like helping people. So that was kind of my niche with personal injury, is I like to help injured people recover, help find doctors, and try to resolve their case with the least amount of stress on them as possible. That's my job, is to take all the stress off of them. But going back to being an attorney and a lawyer, um, it really helped to work in a law office prior to becoming an attorney. I really think that was helpful, because I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I wouldn't have wasted my time of law school if I hadn't already been in a law office. Sometimes, there's people, I would say out of those 40 people I started with at school, only two other ones worked in an attorney's office.
Wow.
Um, so, and that might have been a reason that law school is intimidating, and law school is what you do for 4 years is you read the law and you interpret it and you argue it. That's why there's two attorneys on each side. There's only one law, but there's two attorneys, because the law is kind of gray and we can argue it both ways. I know I'm kind of getting off topic now, but it just um, that goes back to my point of being in law school, or being in the field before starting law school, to make sure that's what I wanted to do. So that's, if anybody, to any of those girls out there, go offer, we take internships all the time. We, let girls come in here, do things, and get hours in and see if this is what they really want to do before they, make that full commitment to law school.
That is so cool you guys do that.
Mm-hmm.
If I
Thank you.
wanted to go into a certain field, I'd love to have that opportunity.
Yes. Internships would be like my key advice to them. Go try it out, get your feet wet, see if that's what you really want to do.
Definitely. So there are always highs and lows in careers. What would you say is the most disappointing or difficult part of being your own self-starter and your own attorney?
Um, being a well, be, I purchased a law practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't build it from the ground up. So, but however, I knew months before leading up to this point of my purchase, it was it was that would be the downside. It was the stress of, always worrying about finances and having employees and making sure I can make payroll. This business is not where you get a set amount of, personal injury in the area I'm in. We get cases, in January, and we may not settle them for 6 months. We may not settle them for a year or, 2 years. Some cases go on 3 years. So, that was definitely, I would say, the low when I was getting started was just the stress of but I'm also a worry wart. So I think of all worst consequences.
Yeah.
And then I was also thinking, worst case scenario, I'd have to just get into a different law where I'd get paid up front, like family law or criminal, and
Mhm.
have to just do what I have to do because I never wanted to lay any of these employees off that I have. I have 4 employees. One of them's been here longer than me, over 25 years. The other one's been here over 15 years. And then we have 2 other ones that are less than 10 years. But I mean, we have a very secure staff here. And so I would say would be the downside, was just worrying about them and worrying about me personally as well, and it's in, the finance part of it. But I'm glad I stuck to it and just believed in myself. And the rewarding part about my job is being able to help injured people. A lot of people don't know what to do when they get in car accidents. They don't know what doctors to see, or they don't even know how to handle their medical bills, or even what to do. And I just love being able to walk them through the process, make their life easier. I literally tell every single client of mine, my job is to take all the stress off of you. You just need to get your treatment, follow through with your treatment and everything the doctor's telling you to do. And, let me resolve your case, when we get to that point. And that's probably the most satisfying part, is just taking care of everything for them.
I can imagine every time must feel so good.
Yes, especially when they're, I have very, I have quite a few clients that are very appreciative. I have other clients that, you know, sometimes they think, their case is worth a gazillion dollars, and it's just not. And, I have some clients that, just don't understand the process. So that would go back to the negative things, is I feel like I'm also a counselor in a sense, and teaching them on, how these cases work. But other than that, I really love helping my injured clients.
That's great. And when you do face those tough times or setbacks, how do you handle them?
Well, it's just patience. You got to have patience with the clients. You have to have knowledge on what you're doing, because if you don't, then your clients will know. So, and just being able to try to sympathize with them. And I talk to my clients like an everyday person, lay terms. I don't let them feel intimidated when they walk in my office. I feel like a lot of clients get intimidated when they're at attorney's office. I would say at least 8 out of 10 clients, when they leave, they always tell me, this was so much more of a pleasant experience than I anticipated. You're so nice. You've answered all my questions. And that's also rewarding. But yeah, in terms of those setbacks, you just have to be patient and have to put yourself in their shoes, and, just walk them through it the best you can. That's what I would suggest.
That's great advice. Thank you. How do you handle the gender gap in your workplace that you were talking about before?
Well, well, the gender gap was more in court. In my workplace, we happen to have all women in my
Oh.
current office. Um, yeah, so I have 4 female employees, and then I'm an attorney as well. But John's office, for example, he's a male, but he has
Mhm.
1, 2, 3 female employees. Um, and it's not that, when I do because I did more interviews at his office than I did at the practice I purchased,
Mhm.
which I've also worked in this practice, but just for John. I bought it from a separate attorney. Um, but where was I going with that? Oh, I interviewed plenty of males. It just your question was how do I handle the gender gap? The we have all women, so it's hard for me to answer that.
Yeah,
But I mean, I had no problem interviewing men either. It just was what was the right fit for our office at that time. So, but yeah, I mean, men, women, they can all do what all my staff does.
and how do you address diversity with your employees and in your own practice and also with your clients?
Well, you have to treat everyone as an individual and equally, number one. You got to have certain policies and procedures in place, and make sure that everybody understands and acknowledges that. And you also have to be open-minded. I mean, everybody in this world is going to have a different opinion. We're not just Republicans or just Democrats, or there's all different kinds of religions. The list goes on, but you just have to be open-minded that everyone has their own opinion, and you have to respect that. However, they also have to respect the policies and procedures that you have in your office. And that is the best way, I would think, to address diversity in a workplace.
Definitely. And now I have a few more questions, and there's some fun ones. So the
Okay.
first one is about time travel. So if you could go back to either when you first became a lawyer or when you purchased your own practice and give yourself a piece of advice, what would you say?
Um, Believe in yourself. Going back to um, before I purchased the practice, which was the beginning of last year, it was intimidating to um, the caseload. I was used to managing, anywhere from 60 to maybe 80 cases. My caseload coming into the practice was close to 400.
Oh my God.
And me being one attorney and not multiple attorney firm, um, I was intimidated by that. I was also I wasn't confident in myself when it comes to litigation. Litigation is when the case is filed in court. It's not that I don't have these cases that I deal with generally settle 99% without going to trial. So I don't have a lot of trial experience just because the type of law I'm in, I just don't get it. It costs so much money to go to trial that's why these cases generally settle without moving forward to trial. So those are things that I look back and I'm like, but I tell myself it's because I was a worrywart. But now I've been in this practice for over a year now, and everything's been going fine. So it's a lot of work, but I just wish I would have not thought that way. But again, I think it's just me being a worrywart. But yeah, I mean, just I wish I was more confident before I took over the firm. I put myself under a lot of stress, just personally, internally, and brought that stress home. And I just wish I never would have done that and just taken my own advice and just been confident and know that I'm gonna have to do a lot more work, and it just is what it is. But so going back, those are the things I would change.
Well, I'm glad your practice has been going well.
Thank you.
And have you had one most satisfying or one of the most satisfying moments in your career? What would it be?
Again, it's not one specific status. I would say the satisfying moment is me officially signing those documents to purchase my own law practice. Um, because I never thought I would ever be able to do that, number one. Number two, it's just that I believe is what every attorney dreams of, is owning your own law practice. There's multiple big firms in San Francisco, Sacramento, LA, and it's multiple attorneys under these firms. And I really know, I mean, the associate attorneys, the ones that, are all working for the partners or the ones that own the firm, have to wish that they own their own firm at one point. And I just think that I'm very blessed and fortunate that I had the opportunity I did. So that was definitely probably the most satisfying, because there was a point in my life where I was like, I don't, I could never imagine having to pay employees, salaries
Yeah,
and payroll tax and workers' comp and all of these things. So that was, I would say, the main part that you had asked me about. I'm drawing a blank. The other one would be um, just helping the clients. Like I mentioned earlier, I think that'd be the most satisfying part, is just helping all these injured clients, and being able to see them recover and that they're happy with our services.
I can only imagine how good it feels to help people, and signing those papers must have been
Yes.
quite the big moment.
Yes.
So, when something like that happens, or you help a client or reach a goal, how do you celebrate?
Oh, well, when we have those nice big cases, we usually get, all of us as an office staff will go out, and either go out to dinner. We try once a year to go to San Francisco and go to I'm drawing a blank on the salon, but where I take all the girls to go basically for a beauty day. So we leave early, we go out to lunch, and then we do a beauty day at the salon, and then we eat afterwards and try to let all the traffic die down. And then we head back to the valley.
That sounds so fun. That is such a good idea.
Yes.
This is a bonus question. What is
Yeah.
your favorite word?
My favorite word. Hmm. Boy, I that's a hard one. I don't know what my favorite word is. I mean, it's um, how about a saying?
Okay.
Hard work pays off.
Okay, I like that one. And lastly, can you share a funny story from your career?
Oh, showing up to the courthouse in flip-flops and forgetting my heels. Forgetting my purse in different courtrooms when I'm trying to juggle multiple courtrooms at the same time, and then I always seem to leave my purse somewhere and I have to go track it down. What else? Oh boy. Um, Showing up at the wrong courthouse. I mean, that's not
Oh
funny, but
no.
it's happened. In Modesto, we have two. They split it up between like civil division, criminal, and family law. So sometimes when I used to do all three laws, I would, because I was so used to going to civil, I'd show up in civil and I'd be like, oh no, I'm family law today.
Oh no.
But luckily they're only a block away, so I'm able
Okay,
to get, back and forth easily. But yeah, I mean, stuff happens, attorneys are real people
definitely.
too. It's not that we're perfect and we don't make mistakes, and we're human.
Completely. Well, those were some good stories, definitely. Do you have anything else you want to add, or last piece of advice for the girls?
um I would just say follow your heart, follow your dreams, but also get your feet wet before you make any, final decisions on which way you're going to go with college. And specifically in terms of law, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just how well you can argue it. And that's what law school is all about, and being in court is all about. Um, the law, it technically is black and white on paper, but it's interpreted gray. So that's why there's two attorneys on both sides. Um, and it's all about your argument, and passing the bar and passing your classes in law school. The people who passed didn't that doesn't mean that they had the same answers. There could be 20 people with 20 different responses, and those 20 people passed just because of the way they articulated it and used their mind and creativity. And it's how they, that's the law school part of it. going in front of a judge, you have to definitely try to get the judge on your side, and do a lot more a lot more research on supporting your opinion of what your interpretation is in order to move forward. So, but never be afraid to try, and follow your heart.
Thank you so much for all those little snippets of wisdom and your funny stories and your time today. I had a great time talking with you and learning about law. You're the first lawyer I've talked to, so this is very exciting.
Awesome.